Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, Zibby. Thank you for having me.
Thanks
I
for
feel
coming.
you with the
Right?
call madness. That's like my kids every day. They're like screaming. They don't want to do it. It's hard.
So let's talk about your amazing book, which I have been thinking about nonstop since our talk. It was really like one of the most helpful talks, and I'm going to release it soon once it's ready. But your book is called "You Can't," I don't know if I can curse on this, F up your kids. And it came from a place of you're realizing that nothing could really be messed up. Why don't you talk a little bit about how your unique viewpoint on setting it up and writing it and all the rest,
Yeah.
please?
Thanks. So I have been a journalist for a long time, so I knew from like a research perspective, also as the founder of the No Shame Parenting movement, which went crazy viral, I knew that this was something that people were really interested in and curious about. So I wanted to prove through research that it's like basically impossible to F up your kids as long as they have love, food, and a warm place to sleep. And so that was kind of the professional part. And then the personal part was that I grew up in this very crazy situation, abusive household, drug addict mom. And so I've had this kind of like voice in my head that compares my childhood to the way that my sons, who are 4 and 6 now, are living. That kind of puts things in perspective, right? Where I'm like, oh, they're watching a lot of screen time, but like they have a house with working electricity, and I love them, and I'm here. So it's been like a great barometer to keep me a sane parent. Not that I wish a crazy childhood on anyone, but I think it gives me a really unique perspective when I have my friends who are so concerned, and I hear from parents, especially moms, who are just really, really tough on themselves.
Well, it just really shows us that you can't, one little thing is not going to change the whole course of a child's development. I mean, I know we talked about this before. Like sometimes I feel like my first rule is just first do no harm, right? That the kids sort of are who they are and I can mess them up, but I'm not sure I can even make them that much better. So
Exactly.
as long as I don't, and especially with everybody home and this whole period of time, it's like it'll be a blip, right?
It's
Before I like one bad day I would beat myself up. Now I'm like, well, if it's a bad, not bad, but if it's 6 months with a lot of TV, they're still gonna be fine. Like it's
right.
fine, right?
They know that you love them and that you're spending time with them. And I'm not saying that we need to like all like quit our jobs and like hone in on our kids.
Right.
Like we're also teaching them the benefits of playing independently and being resourceful when they're bored, and getting along with their siblings, which is good social skills. I mean, there's so many things I think we really don't consider the benefits of life skills. Like I cook with my kids. That's math. That's science. That's following order. And how many people are sitting at home right now saying like, man, I really wish I learned how to cook when I was a kid. And so here we have kind of like this weird opportunity to do it. But yeah, I think our kids' memories of this are hopefully just going to be like, wow, this was like a wild time where we got to like eat more snacks and watch TV. And while we are obviously feeling the anxiety about it, I think our kids probably are thinking like this is kind of a fun thing while also experiencing some anxiety. But I think, we should give them some credit for also, I don't want to say enjoying, but finding some benefits to this time.
And there's also a big downside when we put all sorts of shame and guilt on ourselves, right? Like that doesn't help anybody either. And that's why I love your whole movement, No Shame Parenting. So what happens, like, what are some of the downsides of just beating ourselves up all the time about our parenting? Like what then?
Yeah. I mean, when we are martyrs and we beat ourselves up so much about parenting, it spikes cortisol, which is the stress hormone with us. Which can have kind of negative inflammation effects. And also, how can we take care of our kids if we don't take care of ourselves? I mean, it's so important for us to realize that we are a member of our family as well. And I think that this shaming thing has so much to do with the fact that, we compare ourselves to everyone on, everyone's just posting their highlight reels on social media. And so I think it's so important for us to be open about it and to have a really honest conversation about like the things that are less than perfect. I should say, I'm just hearing my kids running up the stairs and realizing I forgot to close the door to
Fine.
my bedroom.
Perfect.
So if a kid crashes, here we go.
That's perfect. I think that one upside, if there are upsides to be had of this entire period of time is that all parents and kids are kind of going through, obviously our environments are different, but we're all going through this together. We're all like at home with the kids and figuring out how to get through each day in today's world at home. And how do you do that? Is it like going through workbooks? Is it more TV time? Is it whatever? And you realize like everybody has this, we're just all in it together, no matter who you are, no matter if you're like some major celebrity who now we can see, at home, so what do you think we can take from this whole time? Like, let's pretend that, we can go back to normal life at some point in the next couple months or a year or whatever it is that life goes back to normal. Like, what should we, and assuming everybody is, healthy and society's function again, what can we take from this? What do you think? Like, what are the things that you've learned? And you already are already an expert, but like, is there anything you've even gotten out of this little thing that like you are saying, you know what, when I go forward, this is so important that I don't forget this?
That's a really good question. I think the idea that there are a lot of activities we can do as families, as a family, that doesn't need to be like this big choreographed thing. I think there's a lot of pressure on parents for us to plan every single minute of kids' days and then to do like extra special kid like events on a weekend, especially parents who work, who feel like, oh, we don't spend enough time with our kids. We need to like really plan this cool thing. But now I'm like, shoot, my 4-year-old, or my son, just turned 4 last week, and we had to, of course, cancel his birthday party. But we ordered a couple of gifts from Amazon. Thankful, like so grateful to all the Amazon and delivery workers right now. We baked a cake together as a family. We FaceTimed with some friends and some family, and he called it the best birthday ever. And I just thought, wow, like that's so amazing. And so I would like to take away from this the idea that we don't have to pressure ourselves to always go above and beyond to entertain our children, and that our kids can learn a lot and benefit a lot from like a simpler life. Although that said, when things go back to normal, I'm like going out in the world and like all the local businesses, all the things.
Yeah, I feel like this will have ripple effects even in, not to say I'm not very grateful for all the kids like extracurricular activities, but I'm like, why did I feel like it was so important that after a full day of school, they go to gymnastics and like all these things? I mean, I know they love gymnastics. I don't know. It just feels like all that running around. I mean, for me, one of the things that's been the best about this is like realizing how exhausting it is just getting the kids everywhere every day and all the schedules and everything, and the simplicity of just being like, okay, we're home. Like, that's okay. And it's really great. And they're getting closer. And, maybe all that planning and scheduling was actually a mistake.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think you should be hard on yourself either, but yeah, like, I think it does show you like your kids are getting closer. They're playing together. So that maybe instead of running them all over, when this is done, you can, take some more time to read more books. Not like you have, any time, but but I think that this will hopefully give parents permission a little bit to take some time for themselves and to value ourselves as members of the family too, and not to be martyrs as much.
Totally. And I love how when we talked, this book was geared a little more towards the younger kids because your kids are younger, and how you're going to just keep adding on as your kids get older.
I hope so. Right. That's the benefit. Because, as a journalist, my natural inclination is to call people up and put people on the spot. In the book, for my screen time chapter, for example, I called the pediatrician who co-wrote the American Academy of Pediatric guidelines that we all treat as dogma. And I was like, what's the deal? And she was like, my kids watch YouTube. And I was like, thank you for that. So my kids were younger as I started, because as you know, the book writing process is not something that is done overnight. It was like a 3-year process from querying my agent to getting it out in stores. And so now my kids are 4 and 6. And so I'm like, you can't F up your slightly older children. You can't F up your tweens. You can't F up your teens. I think there's a lot of pressure on parents, and there's a lot of ground to uncover here.
Well, thank you for lifting some of that off of our shoulders. I really appreciate it. And and for sharing your own personal story. That was also just so inspiring, and I'm looking forward to releasing your podcast so everyone can benefit. So
thank you so much.
Thanks,
Always
Lindsay.
chat with you.
Okay, bye.